Well, hello everybody, Smithy here and welcome to a benchmark video. We are going to benchmark the GTX 970 EVGA superclocked, which is the one below on this picture, and the new GTX 1070 Palit GameRock Premium Edition, which is the fastest GTX 1070 on the market at the moment in October 2016. So what we're going to do first though is going to show you how it fits into the rig at the start, and then we'll go jumping straight into a load of benchmarks and comparisons, so you'll be able to see how fast this new card is compared with the GTX 970, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's one hell of a card. So here you can see the two cards out of the box. I took out my old 970 GTX and put it next to the GameRock, and you can see the size straight away. It is massive, the new card. It's higher, it's longer, and it's fatter. It's got two fantastic fans there compared to the other one. Now they're both superclocked or overclocked, and look at the width there. The card at the back, the GameRock, is 2.5 slots, whereas this is 970 is a 2-slot card. You might as well write off 3 slots, to be perfectly honest. There is no point putting anything anywhere near it because the fans would not work, but they look super cool. The 970 GTX is one of the fastest superclocked out of the box cards you can get, and the GameRock is obviously the fastest 1070 GTX. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you how it fits into the rig and what it looks like. It does look cool though, doesn't it? And it lights up in the dark as well, which is even better. So guys, it's in the rig and it gives us quite a lot of space. I know I had some of the older cards are this sort of length, but I've got a HAV 932 case, so it's a pretty big case. So before you buy this card, make sure it will fit in, because you can see it overlapping the motherboard there at the side, and it does look good, but you definitely need a lot of room, and there it is against the CPU. So next thing is to get it fired up and get the drivers installed and get it running again. But yeah, it's going in a HAV 932 full high tower case, which gives loads of breathing, so loads of air flowing round. So guys, here is my EVGA GTX 970 superclocked ACX2. If you have a look at this, it's a overclock card, as I always do. Overclocked from the standard 1050 to 1165 megahertz GPU. Boost clock goes up from 1178 to 1316, and the overall memory clock is 7012. And you can see here using Tech Power Up GPU Z, you can see the confirms exactly what software we're using. So here is the Palit GTX 1070 GameRock Premium Edition that we're going to pit against our old 970 GTX. Again, I'm using Tech Power Up here to show you this, and you can see the clock speeds. This is the fastest at the moment, the fastest GTX 1070 on the market, and you can see the overclocks are quite massive, 11% on the GPU, 11% on the boost clock and memory clock, but the memory is 8,500 megahertz rather than 8,008, so there's a massive memory jump. See here we're using Tech Power Up GPU Z, and that confirms the clock speeds of this card, and you can also see we're using the latest Forceware NVIDIA driver for this test as well. So let me just click down here. You can also see that this card competes against everything else, and even the Zotac 1070 Extreme Amp Edition, it's faster than that, as you can see. So it's pretty fast card. The other fast card, the MSI Gaming Z, is slightly slower. It is slower at 1835, and it hasn't got the 8,500 megahertz. Right, let's go and do some tests and compete. So we're just going to run the basic Firestrike. For some reason I can't update it, but we're going to run the standard Firestrike. I'm going to use the same one for the 1070 as well. So we're going to run that and come back. It's the second time I run it. See if we can get a comparison with benchmarks. So I've got a nice score there, 9863. My first run of this was 9843. So it's a pretty good test. It compares with, the fact is I've got a i7 3770 is a pretty strong machine. So it's a nice test. Graphics score 11,916 and the physics score 9547. Combined score 4400, but the overall Firestrike score there is 9863. So you can see here we got a really good score, 13664, which is literally a third faster than the 970 GTX. Now the 970 GTX is quite a fast card and it was overclocked, but this is a significant jump in terms of frame rates. In graphics test 1 and 2 is a massive jump there of around about 30 frames a second. So we're just going to have a look at comparing online. So you can see here this score is better than 86% of all other results. So it's a pretty good score. Yeah, it's pretty good to say the least. I'm very impressed with it. I'm very impressed at how much a jump NVIDIA has done with these cards. If you think about it, usually it's incremental, but this is a massive jump from the last series. Right, let's go and do some more tests. So as you can see, we're running the 970 GTX through 3D Mark 2011. We got a P13228, which is a pretty good score because we're on an i7 3770. So we're going to run it a second time just to make sure that we get some comparison scores later on. So pretty comparable, as you see. Second time around 13154 for our GTX 970. So we'll move on to another test. So now, just for comparison, here is the 3D Mark 11, which is slightly older bench test, but as most graphics cards in the last 5 years to 6 years have been using this score, we thought we'd put it on. My card, the new card, 17,105. That's a rise of nearly 4,000 on that 970 GTX. And look at that, this card is better than 94% of all other results recorded. So very impressed. And valid score. Of course, we're using an i7 core processor. Even though it's one of the older generations, that is still a good result. So we need to go into some more tests before we go into real gaming. As you can see here, we just run the Heaven benchmark for the. It's an old benchmark, but it's still really current. We had a score of 2,910 and minimum FPS of 9.1 and max of 246. What we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look at the newer Super Duper Valley benchmark next to see how that does. So you can see here there's a massive jump from 115 FPS right up to 186.4 FPS, and it's almost like a 75% jump in terms of graphics. So very impressive. So let's go and do the Heaven Valley benchmark. So here you can see we have done the Valley benchmark at ultra settings. I've done it 1920 by 1080 and it's 8.8 anti-analyzing full screen extreme HD. And you can see we scored 2,416 and we had an average frame rate of 57 frames. So it'd be good to see what the 1070 can do with this. So as you can see here, guys, this is a massive increase from 57 to 89, 32 frames a second on ultra settings. So it's almost twice as fast. Yeah, it is actually nearly twice as fast, sorry. 50% faster. It is 50% faster than the 970 GTX on the ultra settings. So that's fantastic. Right, now for some real world gaming. So here we are in Minecraft at 1.10.2. We're getting very good frame rates, fluctuating. You can see here. Now if I stop recording, the frame rates will go up to around about 100 frames a second. You can see it loads pretty well with the 970 GTX. And we range from about 100 frames a second to, look, 113.26 as the world is building, to round about 65-70 frames a second. So on the 1070 it's about 50% faster. It really loads in. Minecraft I was getting anywhere between 120 and 200 frames a second. This has now got fraps on, which is taking it down. Let me just go and put a resource pack on. So we go to Faithful, that one there. Yeah, so quite happily, it sits quite happily at 150, 160 frames a second rather than the 100 that the 970 GTX. One thing that this does not do though is the GPU will not go past its standard so it won't boost. It sticks at 1670 megahertz, so it's a bit of an interesting thing. If I then go and switch to the shaders mod, we're going to have a look at that and see how it does in shaders. So really it's made a bit of difference in terms of around about 20 frames a second when I'm using the shaders mod. Again though, the graphics card does not go past its standard settings, so it won't boost, so I'm going to have to go and have a look at that, how to do that, but it is very good, I must admit. It works fine with the shaders and they look really cool without any trouble whatsoever with the volumetric clouds and stuff. So there you go, there's Minecraft. Let's get back to some 3D games. Now first up is Dirt Rally, fantastic rally game, high definition graphics. Although I use the 970 on virtually max, I use 4 times multi-sampling, but everything else really is on ultra and max settings. There is actually a benchmarking mode which you can use, which is already preset to maximum settings, and then test the graphics card, so you can actually compare that like for like with your graphics card. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the benchmark mode, which can be found in the graphics options, and then we'll see how the two cards come out in the test. So as you can see, we did one test, we got 20,000 frames, we got an average FPS of 98, minimum FPS of 53.83, so sorry, it's average of 98, the maximum is 125. So there you go, there's the 970 GTX in Dirt Rally. So right guys, so this is the 1070 GTX. Now quite interestingly, I've had some fun with this particular benchmark. This benchmark runs whatever system, so it's designed to compare system to system. Yesterday I had 129 frames, 128 frames on the old 68 drivers, but because I was having trouble with some of the other games, I put it back up to the latest drivers for 1070, so we're now down to 121 frames. It is still a whopping 23 frames up on the previous benchmark, and I've got everything turned up to max, so and that's what the bench test does. So, but be wary that this one did have some fluctuations in frame rates, and you can play around with the settings to get you much higher frame rates. So there we go. Right, let's move to another bench test. You can see here we're in Titanfall, and you can see the settings here. I've got everything pretty well at high level, and I've got a anisotropic filter in at 16, and I've got 4 MSA on. I have unlocked it to 120 frames a second, but I am really pushing the graphics card to limit on this one, as you will see. So as I said, I've unlocked Titanfall to play more than 60 frames a second. You can do that. There's a video on YouTube to show you how to do that. But on Titanfall, on the 970 GTX, we are getting between 65 and 70 frames a second, which is pretty good. So it plays at really most maximum settings. So yeah, that's pretty good. So let's switch across now to the 1070 GTX. So this is, we're getting around average 120 frames a second now with this on up to max. Hey, and he goes. Yeah, so brilliant actually frame rates in terms of Titanfall. Really love it. Right, so here we are in Star Wars Battlefront. Just to show you, we've got all the settings set at Ultra and FX High AA. So there we go. And we're on the gorgeous Battle Jakku. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's it. Not seen one of those come before. I haven't played this very much, but just want to show the graphics. Oh dear. Yeah, it sits at around about 95 to 98 frames a second. Quite easily. It plays very well, to say the least. And I miss that now. But there we go. Yeah, it is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow, so we're getting around about 120 to around about 140, sometimes under 170 frames a second with this graphics card. Absolutely fantastic. Also, obviously, when I'm filming now, it's got fraps on, which isn't very good. But the graphics are astounding. Excellent graphics. I'm very impressed with this. So we're playing Battlefield 4 here, and you can see I've got all the settings up to ultra, and I got 4x MSAA. I've got all basically to test the game out. So we're going to go back and have a look and see how it does. So we're getting a good steady 90 frames a second here on this, with all the settings up to max. Lots of lovely graphics here. And well, let's get in there. Let's just get in there now.
Watch your sectors. Eyes on target. Easy now. Straight ahead.
In position.
So beautiful graphics, works absolute treat. So around about the 125 marks with this particular one here. Oh, here we go. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous rocks and everything. Right, so let's do a roundup of the synthetic benchmarks. You can see the 1070 GTX has quite a hefty lead over the 970, so quite a step up from the two cars. You're obviously paying a lot more money for the 1070, but you can see here there's some excellent synthetic benchmarks of, you know, for the like the Heaven Valley goes up by 30 frames a second with bigger gains on the other benchmarks. So let's have a look at the comparison of the gaming benchmarks. So finally then, here are the gaming benchmarks between the two cards. You can see some absolutely fantastic leaps in frame rates, because most of the settings I've tested on are ultra settings and the highest settings available. So you can see the 1070 GTX OC or 1070 GameRock Edition is an absolutely fantastic card. It's well worth money against some of the other higher priced 1070 GTXs, and does give you a lot of higher frame rates. This is particular if you're actually filming in HD, whereas the 970 GTX sometimes let you down in doing videos, etc. But if you're just playing games, the 970 GTX will be for you. But if you want a video and do full HD, then the best card for you is a 1070 GTX. Hope you all like this video. Thank you very much indeed for watching to the end, and if you like the video from start to finish, please press that like button, and also please make comments, and I'll try to answer all the ones I possibly can. Thank you very much again, and bye bye for now.